You guys are nuts. Oh my god. What do you guys really want?
Amanda Nunes.
Amanda Nunes isn't back yet. Are you 100% locked into returning? Is this definite?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm really back in the gym. Why not?
I mean, do I have to sell this one? I think it's going to be a really fun fight. I do not see it going the distance.
Scott, I actually disagree with you when you say that, this is a really tough matchup for him.
That's crazy. We could do a whole episode on that one. I could see Scott and Eric getting into it.
I think what we have here is truly just a jolt of energy, a shot of adrenaline.
I really loved it. I would watch it again. Actually, I would. Welcome back to Against the Cage, the MMA show where we talk about the biggest breaking news in the sport, recap and preview the biggest fights, and provide you exclusive interviews. I am Jake Arrier. I'm joined in studio for the first time by Eric Richter. Eric, how we doing?
What's going on, Jake?
We also got Scott over there at home. Scott, how we doing?
Scott Fontana is doing well, my friends. I'm over here.
There we go. Now, like I said, we provide some of the biggest interviews. We had a pretty big one go up this morning. Scott, you talked with Amanda Nunes. Why don't we listen to some of how that went?
Are you 100% locked into returning? Is this definite?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm really back in the gym. Why not? No injury. So let's see what is going to happen. And I'm ready to step in again.
If you want to see more exclusive interviews like that big one with Amanda Nunes, make sure you give us a like and subscribe for more of that content. Now, Scott, you're the one that talked with Amanda Nunes. What else did you take out of that conversation?
Obviously, you probably saw already in our intro as well, that Amanda Nunes has made it clear she wants to fight either Julianna Peña or Kayla Harrison. It doesn't matter who wins. This isn't just a Kayla Harrison show. She's back. And she's there for whoever comes out of it, regardless of the winner Saturday, UFC 316. That was one of the biggest takeaways that we also got to take away from the fact that she is targeting a return for the end of this year. If that can be in the cards for the UFC, who knows what their plans are, but that's going to be in their deck if she's certainly willing to. This is not a one-off. This is one of those things that I don't know that everyone really truly understood. This is not a one-off for her. She envisions reclaiming this title and being a defending champion from there. She's as healthy as ever after 2 years away from competition, currently training twice a day. She kept up her conditioning during retirement with CrossFit. There's really a lot that came out of this interview. There's a lot to see. You should check it out, especially for some of the things like talking about how things kind of came apart with American Top Team and her former training partner, Kayla Harrison. She also talked about the upcoming Hall of Fame induction, UFC Hall of Fame. She'll be in it later this month. And she's got her prediction for how the fight's going to go between Pena and Harrison. So, definitely there's a lot there. She doesn't give a lot of interviews. This is a good one. I think you guys should check it out.
Yeah, definitely check it out if you haven't. So a lot of stuff clarified and some details that we did not know beforehand. So make sure you go dig through all that stuff. But we are getting a tiny bit ahead of ourselves here, looking into the future, which is very exciting, of course. But we do have a fight Saturday night for her division. Women's 135. We have Julianna Peña defending her title against Kayla Harrison. Eric, with this news with Amanda that we just got this morning, and this fight coming up Saturday night, highly anticipated, a lot of drama, some beef going on. What do you make of this bantamweight division and the state of it?
It's interesting because speaking of getting ahead of ourselves, I feel like maybe Kayla Harrison's getting ahead of herself here. Scott, you interviewed Kayla Harrison the other day. It went up yesterday. Kayla Harrison was talking about how he's like, my teammates kind of want me to beat up Amanda Nunes too. It's possible that she's getting ahead of herself as well. I mean, Julianna Peña, not someone to be slept on. She is cashed as a big underdog in the past. Remember, she beat Amanda Nunes in impressive fashion, I might add. She lost the rematch, of course, but Julianna Peña, solid grappler. Obviously, Kayla Harrison's going to have the grappling advantage against pretty much any opponent that she faces. But for me, I think that this is as good as it gets at 135. Kayla Harrison, we've wanted her in the UFC for a long time. She's finally going up against the best of the best. Holly Holm, she beat Holly Holm there by submission in the second round. And, she immediately jumps into a title shot here, 18-1, UFC record, Olympic gold medalist in judo. So this has fireworks written all over it. Fantastic fight. Really looking forward to it. And hopefully Kayla Harrison's not overlooking her like Amanda Nunes previously did.
I would caution Eric. I don't know that she's necessarily looking past this fight, just based on that particular answer. Anyway, I think it's probably one of those things that ever since Amanda left the gym, probably there's been the general sense of like, if this fight comes together, you need to mess her up.
Mm.
So I don't know that it's quite that way. But having said that, uh, the state of the division, I mean, frankly, I can't remember a time since I'm going to go all the way back to Amanda Nunes versus Ronda Rousey was probably the last time there was so much juice at women's 135, because you can't necessarily count, which was a big fight since then, Amanda Nunes versus Chris Cyborg. That was 145. So
Mhm.
I think what we have here is truly just a jolt of energy, a shot of adrenaline, whatever you want to call this here, for women's 135, this fight and the next fight. But I think one enhances the other, and that's really what we have here. It's fantastic. The UFC has to be happy.
Oh yeah, a lot of big things happening at women's 135, and we'll get to the men's 135 fight. But a couple more things for this. Eric, you are a betting guy.
Yes, sir.
Kayla Harrison is a massive favorite going into this fight. Do you think that? I mean, you did say that there was a potential that Kayla Harrison sleeping on Julianna Peña. Is the public sleeping on Julianna Peña even more?
Well, Harrison's a big favorite, man. Like minus 750 is what you're looking at. Just you put down $750 to get $100 out of Kayla Harrison. The betting world really thinks Kayla's gonna roll here. We've seen people sleep on Julianna Peña in the past. Obviously, when she beat Amanda Nunes, she said, I'm not surprised, mother effers, right? I don't know that if she's going to be able to pull something like that again out of a hat, pull the rabbit out of a hat a second time. My issue with Pena here, and the price is ridiculous, right? Like Pena should not be almost a 5-1 dog anywhere. Especially, she's the champion. I don't remember the last time. Maybe Matt Serra versus George St. Pierre too was this last time that comes to my head where the incumbent is that big of a dog. It's rare for sure, to be clear. Pena, she's scrappy. She can grapple. Her striking's where I get scared. I get worried that her back, playing off of her back, she might be willing to let Kayla take her down. But in MMA, I don't look at that as a winning strategy. I look at that more as if you're on your back, you're losing unless you pull out a submission. And she's like 14-1 to get a submission. So odds makers don't even think that's going to happen. So it's like where you try to find a way for her to win. It's kind of hard to see it because Kayla's just so dominant and so physically imposing too. She's a physical specimen. It's really impressive.
How about you, Scott? What are your thoughts on this fight?
Well, as far as the fact that Pena is a giant underdog here, she should be the underdog. Frankly, it's just the way it is. We haven't seen her be very active in recent years. That certainly doesn't help cases. And yes, it's hard to find one particular area where Julianna Peña is like a killer, right? Where she's going against literally the greatest women's judoka that this nation has ever seen. It's truly a remarkable thing that she has been able to be a dominant Olympian in judo and then come over to MMA and be basically almost as dominant, right? But I do still think that the public is sleeping on Pena to a degree. And the reason why is, as much as it's hard to kind of identify that one thing she does, she just finds a way to get the job done. That's just the way it works. Because as much as Kayla Harrison denigrated her opponent yesterday, saying, she's a better talker, she's really not that good a fighter, the fact remains she keeps winning. She's the champion. And you can say what you want about the way she won the belt last year. Really close fight with Raquel Pennington, but she got the job done. It's just, she's got this knack for it. You can't sleep on it. And there's another factor too that I think we're about to talk about, right, Jake?
Yes. Well, Kayla Harrison, as you mentioned, another 145 fight, Amanda Nunes and Chris Cyborg. Chris Cyborg being, one of the scariest 145ers that division's ever seen. Kayla Harrison is also kind of in that same vein. She is a massive 135er, well, 136er up until now, you could say. Now she's got to make championship weight, right? So I'll throw it back to you, Scott, since I feel like you've got some thoughts about this. 5 rounds also for a championship fight at 135.0. How do you see those two things affecting Kayla Harrison?
Number one, I'm gonna relay the fact that Kayla does not seem concerned about making that extra pound. She's kind of said that she's ahead of schedule on her weight down, on her descent down to 135. It had been 136. She settled for 136 because that was acceptable. She hits the numbers. She doesn't have the issue. I'm pretty confident in what everyone else has been saying, that she is going to get the weight. Having said that, this is still another reason why we're sleeping on Julianna Peña here. I mean, we just don't know how Harrison's body is going to fare in those championship rounds if needed, given that it is new weight territory for her. Last time she did it, last time she had those championship rounds, number one, she lost the fight. Number two, she basically didn't cut weight. This was 155 pounds, 20 pounds up from where she's got to be for this weekend, and then rehydrate from thereafter. That was almost 3 years ago as well. I think she's dedicated enough in her training that I think, and it's also not at elevation, mind you. The last time when she fought Ketlin Vieira, this was in Salt Lake City. The elevation is not the same. Jersey's basically sea level. So I don't think it's going to be crazy to see her have like a pretty fresh 5th round, but we just don't know. And that is another reason why you have to give a little bit of credence to what Julianna Peña might be able to get done in those later rounds, especially.
How about you, Eric? How do you see those two factors playing into it?
I mean, in terms of the weight, she seemed super confident. Kayla Harrison seems super confident getting to that weight. Obviously, like, she's been doing mixed martial arts for so long that I almost, not to say that's not a factor. Obviously, she misses weight, it's going to be a huge factor. The fight probably won't happen if she misses weight. So, you know, if as long as she makes the weight, she was even talking about like her nutritionist and her hydration. She was like, you know, she even had said in the interview that you did, Scott, you know, a couple hours afterwards, she feels fine. Obviously, it's torture getting down to that spot, but she has talked about in the past, you know, within a couple hours, she's back to normal. So for me, Kayla's just such a pro that it's really hard for me to lend too much credence into that, based on everything that all the information that we have up to this point is that this weight cut's going very well. So for me, I'm not going to overreact to something that I don't know is going to be an issue. I don't know that there's going to be an issue. So I'm just, for now, until I'm proven wrong. She hasn't missed weight yet. So until I'm proven wrong, I'm going to let it ride.
There we go. Now, this is a pay-per-view championship card, as we have 2 title fights on this. And for our title fights, we like to bring out our sport/entertainment rating. If you didn't catch our last pay-per-view episode, we kind of explained that. Go check it out if you want to learn more about the criteria about that. So let's go into our sports entertainment ratings. I'll go first. Alrighty. So for this one, in terms of a sporting perspective, I'm gonna give Kayla Harrison, or Julianna Peña, Kayla Harrison, a very strong 3. I could give it a 4, but the reason why I'm gonna give it a 3 is because, first off, you've got Julianna Peña. That last fight, you could very much argue she did not win, right? And then also you've got Amanda Nunes waiting in the wings as the greatest women's bantamweight of all time. She very well still could be the best bantamweight of all time. So with those 2 things, I think you've got a little bit of an asterisk there. For entertainment, I'm going to give this one, honestly, I got to give this one a 5. I don't know if I've been this excited for a women's title fight. Yeah, that's all I got to say there.
That's interesting. I'll go next. To give it a 5 for entertainment. So if I were to give it a 5 for entertainment, then I feel like there's just no way up for when, if and when Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes fight. So I'm going to hold the 5, give this one a 4 on the entertainment level. Super entertained, very excited, hyped for this fight. I'm going to go 4 as well for the sporting aspect of it. I think Kayla Harrison could dominate her way to a decision. But I think the crowd atmosphere is going to be awesome. I'm also going to the fight, so maybe a little bit of bias there. But just in terms of like this matchup, I think it's going to be fascinating. I think that, you know, Pena could be competitive, especially on her off of her back, and Harrison, I'm really interested to see her for an extended time here against the champ. What do you got, Scott?
I think you guys are nuts. This is a 5 on sporting. Oh my God, it's 1 versus 2. What do we want? What do you guys really want?
Amanda Nunes.
Nunes isn't back yet. This is 5. This is a 5 from sport. I think you guys are nuts. Entertainment wise, I'm gonna go with Eric here. I think it's 4. I think number one, the hype is real. It is fascinating. there is more hype because of another one that is more hyped, right? The next one is going to have more hype to it, so that's part of it. I also do think it's actually going to be a reasonably entertaining fight. I think Kayla Harrison brings the action. I don't think Julianna Peña is one to kind of step back and be timid in the cage as well. So I do think we're actually going to have a really fun fight to watch as well. So my overall rating is a 9 on that scale because I've got a 5 and a 4. What were your overall ratings then? So we got a 9 from me.
I had
I
3 plus
had
5, 8 for both of us.
Both of us are 8.
9 and 8 and 8. So we are at an 8.333 repeating. That's a really solid rating for this fight, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's very deserving of it.
Yeah, agreed.
Alrighty, so like I mentioned before, we've got another title fight at 135 in the men's division. Merab Dvalishvili defending his belt against Sugar Sean O'Malley in the rematch. Sean O'Malley's been doing a lot of talking about sort of the lifestyle changes that he's made in his life. Go check out our Media Day highlight recap if you want to hear him talk about some of that. Of course, those stemming from the loss to Merab Dvalishvili. Eric, I'm going to throw it to you. How do you think that these lifestyle changes that Sean O'Malley has made, do you think will make him different as a fighter in the cage?
Yeah, so Sean, I've talked about it with Sean a little bit. He was getting off of social media for a little while, kind of just trying to get away from like distractions. It's very easy when you're a champion to get distracted. We've seen it a million times, but I think Sean's very strategic and has good people around him that are able to kind of ground him a little bit. We talked about it with like his coach, Tim Welch, even like having a family and stuff like that. I think it's very important to just keep things in perspective. Like, especially in this game, it can be taken away from you very quickly. And I think Sean, having lost the title in the way that he lost it, I think that he feels like there's another level for him to get to. And, if he can just cut out like some of the extracurriculars, social media is a big waste of time. And I think he's talked about that in the past. I think it could make the difference for him. Honestly, I feel like, when you're at that level, it's really just that 0.5% increase in, cardio level or striking power, or maybe even just boils down to extra sleep, right? What if you if I turn my phone off at 7 p.m., it'll help me be in bed by 10, all of those things combined, they can make a huge difference. So I'm happy for Sean. I think this is a good spot. I think he's in a good spot mentally, a good spot physically. I'm fascinated to see how this main event plays out, but I think it could help a lot.
How about you, Scott? Do you play into that?
For starters, talking to him yesterday, he was with us media folks, reporters at Media Day, and I asked him a couple questions about this whole lifestyle change. I asked, like, was this going to come if you had won, the fight against Merab the first time, and he does seem to think like he probably would have with a little bit of you never know in there. So it's not necessarily because he lost that fight, but that was probably more of a catalyst to push him over the edge of definitely doing it as opposed to possibly doing it. As far as if it maybe is a change, does it affect him, make him a different fighter? I think to a small degree, it's going to improve him a little bit, mostly from potentially being a more sharper in training, that kind of thing. I wonder if it's probably going to be an edge in conditioning as well. I'll give him that. But frankly, I still think we've got more or less the same fighter. I think he could have a higher ceiling, but we'll see how this fight goes. This is still a really tough matchup for him.
Yeah, before we move on to the next one, I do think that just from a discipline standpoint, it's something very helpful to have, because like Sean O'Malley is someone who is very talented. He popped off from a young age getting these crazy knockouts. He does have talent for sure, and there's always that saying, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. If you devote yourself and have the discipline when you do have talent, who knows, maybe something could happen there. So maybe there is something to be said from that. But stemming off of all these things, will this make him a better fighter? Going off of that, obviously Merab won the last one. How differently do we think that this fight's going to go? I'll throw it to you, Eric. Do you think that we see a different fight this time around?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's going to be a totally different fight. Scott, I actually disagree with you when you say that, this is a really tough matchup for him. I feel like this is actually a better matchup for him, especially having seen the first one, rewatched it a couple times. When I look at it, I see the grappling that Merab did, but I also see he didn't really do a whole lot with the grappling. And I thought O'Malley didn't put up his best performance by any any stretch of the imagination. I thought that Sean actually looked really bad in that fight, and that he still took 2 rounds. The way that I look at it is that if he's able to just avoid, even like Merab was doing well with the striking. Like if you watch like in the first and second round, like Merab was doing some crazy stuff and like really getting off on him with the striking, and Sean was kind of like just too worried about the takedown. I think that Sean should know, or should have proved to himself, that he's not going to get submitted on the ground. He's not going to get ground and pounded to death. What it really comes down to is Merab going to do the Aldo thing where he's coming forward, going for the volume takedowns, going against the cage, right? I don't see that. I don't see Sean in a spot like this getting dominated. I actually think that Merab kind of got off some shots that he won't be able to get away with this time out. I think that, as long as Sean, and he made an adjustment in the 3rd round, you could see it. He was throwing more front kicks to the body, more low kicks. I would expect that to be a big part of his game plan that I feel like he kind of unlocked in the 3rd round there. And I would expect that to continue going forward. Now, I believe that Merab was 3 of 13 on takedowns from the 3rd round on. He was 6 of 15 for the whole fight. Obviously, he landed 2 early, but I believe he was a 3 of 13 or 3 of 11 on takedown attempts from the 3rd round on. So I feel like Sean kind of figured something out. I feel like, and he also landed a lot of good shots in the 3rd round. Maybe Merab was feeling the power a little bit. I'm interested to see, kind of what kind of strategic differences that Sean makes. But those are the ones that I see that immediately jump out. More kicks and let your hands go a little bit more. I felt like Merab kind of stayed backwards a little bit as the fight drew on.
I mean, there's a lot to respond to in that one, my friend. But one of those things here that I would disagree to certain point with certain points that you made. Yes, Sean did not look good, but I think that's a tendency that Merab tends to have. He makes other fighters look bad. It is his style that makes other fighters look bad, because even when he's not successful with those takedowns, that's not really his game. He's not necessarily looking to get every single take. I'm sure he's happy to, but he'll just keep going with it, whether it's working, whether it's not. If he are defending his takedown and you didn't just shuck it off easy, he's still making you work. And that is part of the plan, 100%. He's not even that concerned with keeping the fight down a lot of the time. Frankly, he's let a lot of people up in his career. His control time versus his takedowns, successful takedowns, is not crazy compared to some other grappling type fighters that we know. But yes, I do think that was probably a little bit of a nadir for O'Malley. I think the potential for him to look better here is strong. He is fully capable of ringing the bell on Merab Dvalishvili here, but we've also really only seen Merab ring his own bell that badly in fights here. So it's happened, but I think, frankly, there is a really good chance that this fight looks different, but not drastically so, and quite possibly still ends up with the same man taking the belt home who brought it in.
For what it's worth, odds makers have Merab by decision at -150, which is like 60% implied probability. So, I mean, that's just Merab by decision. There's like there's 7 outcomes of a fight, and that's one of them. So,
sure. Yeah. So, I mean, before we wrap up and go to our sports entertainment ratings, one thing that I do want to say is I feel like, we're talking about, how the changes of the lifestyle will affect Sean, and will that come out to a different outcome, and just the other surrounding factors. Are we going to see the same fight? I feel like a lot of these things kind of have been done in some way to sort of sell this fight a little bit, just because we did just see this fight. So, I mean, you hear Sean talking about some of the injuries, which, may be valid, but to some extent, I do think that all of this is kind of a way to sell the public on seeing a fight that we did just see. That was Sean's last fight. And maybe I'll hear some of your thoughts about that in the sports entertainment rating. So we'll jump into that. For my sporting rating, I am gonna give this one I'm gonna give it a 4, just because Sean is one of the best bantamweights in the world. Merab is the best bantamweight in the world as of his last fight, right? I do think that just based on the fact that Sean did just lose to Merab, that brings it down. But there wasn't really anyone that you could choose from. It seemed like a fight that kind of just had to happen. And then from an entertainment perspective, I'm going to give this one a 3. I'm not super pumped for it. I don't know. It's a Sean O'Malley fight. I love Merab, but we just saw the fight, and I can't get over that. So How about you, Eric?
Honestly, that's fair. I always have had an issue with the quick rematches. For me, I'm super excited though, so I'm going to go on the opposite side of that. I'm super excited. I'm going to go about a 5 out of in entertainment. I'm super excited for this main event. And then just stylistically, like in the matchup, I think it could be a snooze fest. I think odds makers, giving Merab is 60%, the fight outcome being 60% towards a Merab decision doesn't lend it to being super exciting. But I'm going to go against the grain. I actually think this fight's going to end in a finish, and I'm going to give it a 4 on the stylistic matchup. What do you guys got?
I still have to give a 5 here. I still think we're actually talking about the champion fighting against probably the number 2 guy. Would I have preferred a different contender here just to get a fresh matchup? Absolutely. I really would. But who's going to say that somebody is ranked higher than Sean O'Malley right now? I mean, the UFC rankings are what they are, and they're kind of a complex mess of a lot of things. But I don't think you're going to find a lot of people who are going to say, well, I see Sean as number 3 or 4. It's 1 versus 2. This is sport. And I love that. I think it's 5 out of 5. Entertainment wise, yes. The fact that this is a rapid throwback here, we saw 8 months ago, well, 9 months ago, I should say. I am a little less hyped for it. We saw how that last fight played out. I could see it being very similar, as I mentioned before. I'm going to go with a 3 here for the entertainment rating. I think there's still reason to be interested, but yeah, maybe less so. So I got an 8 overall on this one. So my 8 with what's Eric got? You got an 8, I believe.
I got a 9. 5.
You got a 9, and you got what, Jake?
I think I had a 7.
7. Yeah.
Yeah, 4 and a 3.
That's an 8.
8.
That's an 8,
Yeah.
which puts it just below Kayla Harrison and the champion Julianna Peña here, as the one we're a little more interested, a little more excited for, right?
Yep, I would concur.
Look at me giving higher ratings this time after being way below you guys on the last card.
Yeah.
This optimist over there, that's
Yeah.
smart.
He's sitting next
We're
to me.
back.
That's what it is.
That's what it is. I'm excited,
You're getting the Jake rub.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got okay.
Also, one thing I will say is
Easy.
when we're all watching the fights there on Saturday night, I feel like my rating is probably gonna go up to like a 4 for the entertainment for the main event, because I'm gonna be like, oh god, I really don't want to see Merab get knocked out, but then I'm like, but that would be like crazy, it's gonna be, yeah, the atmosphere is gonna be pretty good.
Your inner
but...
fan will jump out.
Yes, exactly. I'm gonna be like, okay, this is all right. Okay. So that is the co-main event and the main event taken care of. Another huge talking point about this card is Patchy Mix, again, bantamweight. This card's bantamweight up the wazoo, right?
Yeah.
Patchy Mix, long thought to be one of the best, if not possibly the best, bantamweight in the world, especially as far as people going outside the UFC is concerned. Now he's in the UFC. Mario Bautista needed an opponent. He's on this card. Scott, I'm going to throw it to you. There's high expectations. I was just talking about all the plethora of, accolades that people seem to be giving Patchy, for his record and all that kind of stuff. What would be a passing grade for Patchy Mix for people to, kind of, for him to feel validated with all these things and him coming into the UFC with all this thunder?
Well, for him, that comes from within. He'll get what he needs to, whether we feel one way or not. But we're going to make our judgments on what he looks like as a UFC bantamweight off of this, as opposed to the Bellator champion or the Bellator Grand Prix winner or PFL's Bantam or Bellator champion or whatever they wanted to call it last year. I think he really needs not just to win, but win either convincingly, thrillingly, or both. High expectations. Like you said, Jake, it's through the roof. Going into this one, I can envision him beating, frankly, just about anyone in the UFC top 5, including Sean O'Malley. I can totally see that happening. But he's fighting short notice here against the bottom of the top 10. You're expecting a lot. And I don't think that like a nice decision victory, even like a clear but maybe not super impressive one, it's not going to be enough for people. They're going to want more.
How about you, Eric?
In terms of like if he passes the test, like what I think fans would want to see, like in order to like get him really up there into the top 5, he needs a finish, and especially Merab Dvalishvili is kind of a perfect guy to finish. And I think Merab Dvalishvili is actually super talented, totally deserves the amount of hate that he got for the Aldo thing. That's deserved, and that was tough to watch. It's tough for the promotion as well. So, Bautista's 15-2. I think he's super talented. If he can finish Bautista, top 5 immediately. Like, and especially if it's like a wild submission. I mean, we're talking about a guy that beat Magomedov twice. You submitted him and beat him split decision, but regardless, that's still 2 wins over a really high level talent. So, for me, I think Patchy's got superstar potential. This isn't like a Michael Chandler thing, right? Where you're getting somebody at the end of his career. And obviously Michael Chandler jumped into the UFC and, fireworks immediately, knocks out Dan Hooker, which was crazy. But you're looking
almost won the belt, frankly. He was
Yeah.
very close to beating Charles Oliveira in that first
100%.
fight.
Might have had a bet on Michael Chandler and might have cried that night. Yeah, so Patchy makes a huge spot for him. Really excited for him. If he wins and O'Malley loses, Scott, I love that call. Book it now. Book it that night.
So something that we were talking about, and then I was asking you guys about, is whether or not this could possibly have like title implications. And obviously you've got Corey kind of waiting in the wings, and if he was to get a title shot, I think he would absolutely need a finish. But I do agree, just in general, for him to get a passing grade, I think he's going to need a finish. And I think maybe, honestly, if it was going to be either a submission or a knockout, I feel like he's got a lot of talk from himself and other people as well about his grappling. I think if he gets a quick submission victory, that would propel him probably the furthest, because obviously Merab's grappling game is what people talk about a lot. So
don't rule out a knockout too. We've seen some violent knockouts with Patchy Mix as well. He's capable of finishing either way.
a lot of excitement
I
there.
thought about it for best bets. It was plus 900 for him to get a knockout. Thought about it. It's not it though.
Yeah, so that's another amazing fight on the main card. But of course, there's prelims, early prelims as well. So guys, give it to me. What are some of your fights to watch? Eric, let's start with you. What do you got?
I mean, this is fireworks in the prelims. Andreas Gustafsson was supposed to fight last week. His fight got canceled. Chaos Williams lost his opponent. UFC says, Gustafsson, you're fighting next week, and you got Chaos Williams, and that is a tough fight for Andreas Gustafsson. He was a favorite last week, an underdog this week, and he's going to be pushing forward. He's going to be looking to stand and bang with Chaos Williams, and Chaos Williams is not the guy you want to stand and bang with, but that fight's going to be unbelievable. I thought about it for a best bet as well. Didn't make the cut, but man, oh man, that fight's going to be amazing. And Scott, I'm sure I stole your thunder on that one. I'm sure you wanted to take it.
I always like to highlight Chaos Williams. He's a fascinating fighter for me. I don't know what his ceiling is, but yeah, I love watching him fight.
Yeah, me too.
What do you got, Scott?
I mean, I'm not going to reach too deep down here. Vicente Luque, fighting in the state he was born at, grew up in, spent some time in, one of his 3 homes as he identified, against Kevin Holland. I mean, do I have to sell this one? It's going to be 7 minutes of fireworks, possibly. I think it's going to be a really fun fight. I do not see it going the distance. Even if it does, I still think it's going to be a fun one. Again, what more do I have to say? You're going to be tuning in for the pay-per-view. You get this as a great bonus.
Yes, we do. So those are some of the fights right there that we've already talked about with some high praise. Let's see if the event rating follows track. Scott, what do we have for the event rating for UFC 316?
Guys, we got a 95 on our hands. This is a high score.
Wow, this is the best fight card
It's
ever.
on par with UFC 311, which was the highest of the year.
And that was
that one would have been even higher if Islam Makhachev hadn't lost the opponent he would originally had, Armis Sarukian. That fell out. Ended up with a late notice sub of Renato Moicano. That obviously hurt it just a little bit. But frankly, this card in and of itself, the pay-per-view portion is stacked. The prelims are fantastic. You got a couple of, prospect fights at the bottom, but that's really not a problem. I think there's going to be some interesting fights down there as well. So top to bottom, Newark, New Jersey is in for a good one.
Yeah, we said before we came on, I was like, if it's not top 20%, we riot. And then, 95%. That's exactly where it should be.
Yes. Alrighty, so that is the event rating. Almost closing out this UFC 316 card. Looking at all those fights on there, Eric, what bets are you going to go into? Give us your 3 bets in 3 minutes.
3 bets in 3 minutes. Let's talk about the last 3 fights of this UFC card. We got Joe Pyfer here versus Kelvin Gastelum, and I've always been a Kelvin Gastelum fan. He's getting a little bit longer in the tooth, and I've always been a fan of Marquez MMA fighting over in Philadelphia. Joe Pyfer, teammate of Sean Brady, teammate of Jeremiah Wells. He comes in and he is a pretty big minus 400 favorite, but there's a method of victory prop that I absolutely love, and that is Joe Pyfer by submission plus 440 on Bet Rivers. the best on market line by far. Circa Sports has it at plus 375, and that's usually the place where you look. So you're getting great value. Gastelum's been submitted 3 times in his last 13 fights, so you got a pretty high likelihood there. And then Sean Brady also just submitted him, and that Sean Brady's telling Pfeiffer everything that he needs to know about this matchup. Joe Pfeiffer by submission, and then we go to the co-main event, and we have Kayla Harrison. And I am not backing Julianna Peña. I am sleeping on Julianna Peña. I think that she could go to sleep in this fight as well. I'm going to take Kayla Harrison, and the value here is not great. We're looking at a minus 175, but I'm really not trying to lay minus 750 juice on Kayla Harrison. So I'm going to go Harrison wins in over 1.5 rounds. I think she drags her into deep water. I think the judo is going to be too much. I think it could end in ground and pound late second round, third round. But minus 175 is the bet. You get that over on DraftKings. And then we go to the main event. And that's where, Scott, I think we had a little bit of a disagreement on. I am taking the Sugar Show money line plus 240. I think that with minor tweaks in Sean O'Malley's game plan, I think that he comes in here and I think that he gets a victory. I think that if he can just avoid striking deficiencies with Merab, and I know that's easier said than done, I think that O'Malley could get a finish here. I flirted with by KO plus 550. I'm going to take the money line at plus 240. I actually think there is good decision equity here, kind of surprisingly, because usually grapplers have the decision equity. As we know, Merab is a minus 150 to win by decision. O'Malley won 2 rounds in that fight. I think he figured something out at the end of the fight. I think it's going to be teep kick heavy. I think it's going to be low leg kick heavy. And I think that the knee up the middle is going to be there for him if he wants to throw it. So I'm going to take the Sugar Show to reclaim his gold on Saturday night in Newark, New Jersey.
Alrighty, those are your 3 bets in 3 minutes, Eric. Well done. The in studio I feel the energy. So there we go. So yeah, that wraps up UFC 316. Very excited for Saturday night. Obviously, that's taken up quite a bit of our week, and I'm sure your week as well, as far as MMA news consumption. But there's also some other quick items that we have to get to. Scott, why don't you take it away for quick hits?
Yeah, honestly, it would have been great to skip past this, but I think we just have too many things that happen that demand attention. The UFC announced this week a fight night card happening in Paris on September 6th. That continues their tradition of September cards in Paris. We also had some very strange developments with UFC Noche, which was going to be in Guadalajara, Mexico. It has been moved to San Antonio, still September 13th. No longer a pay-per-view. This is a fight night. The arena in Guadalajara that they were going to take place, it is not ready yet, so they just couldn't go. That's the way it is. Two notable PFL announcements this week. They launched a new app. You can find on Apple and Google stores. Allows you to watch in America the international slate of PFL. There was really no avenue for that before. They also announced a new ticket tier for all live events starting at $25, an economy level type of thing if you're looking to go to some live fights in the area where the PFL has come. And lastly, some negative news here. And unfortunately, we have another fighter who has been charged with assault of a family member. This time it is former UFC and NFL veteran Greg Hardy, arrested Wednesday in Texas. That was first reported by TMZ.
Alrighty, thank you for that, Scott. And a little bit more of an expanded quick hit, because this is something that we've been continuing to follow. We've done a few episodes just solely off of this. Eric, you've been following the big TV deal that this story continues to go on. Why don't you give us the cliff notes on some of the updates that we've got this week?
Yep. So previously I'd reported that, ESPN's the favorite to be the incumbent and, re-sign the UFC to a TV deal in some capacity, whether that's exclusive or not, having a different partner. Sports Business Journal did a pretty much confirmed part of that report, from their perspective at least. And then, they also added that, Amazon Prime is interested in the pay-per-view side, which would be a shocker, right? If that happened, ESPN would probably be on the outside looking in if that happened. Again, that has to be announced within the next few weeks here. There's no way that they're going to be able to build that in 5 months. It has to be right, like June is pushing it already. So any negotiations that are happening should be announced within the next 3 weeks. And if it's ESPN, obviously, you got a little bit more leeway because the infrastructure is already built. But Sports Business Journal also added that Warner Brothers and TNT is interested in the UFC rights. Obviously, TNT gave up on let the NBA rights expire, which was then taken by NBC. So TNT has a void to fill with content, so that would make sense. And I'm fascinated to see if that ends up happening. But that's your update for now, and there'll be more. Obviously,
I actually got something to add to that, Eric, and you know this as well. But the fact that Amazon being in the mix here, they are reportedly moving on from their relationship for several years with One Championship, so that leaves a void in their MMA content as well. It really opens things up for them. So that makes it really intriguing to me, Eric.
When was the last time that one was even on Amazon? I feel like it's been a while.
You haven't seen it as much for sure. I mean, basically, without Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, I think they lost a lot of the luster, at least for an American audience, in terms of star power and that kind of thing. So it definitely makes it hard for them to do. But yeah, it doesn't sound like we're going to be seeing much more of one at all on Amazon Prime. But again, that one door is closing and another one seems to be creaking open, right?
A lot of these promotions seems like a revolving door. Like Ryzen doesn't put out as much stuff, and then One. We've had some issues with the PFL recently, so this
Ryzen's been okay. They're pretty consistent.
Who is
just infrequent?
Ryzen.
That's really all it is.
Oh, Ryzen. Yeah, it's just not a lot of content out there besides the UFC, and obviously the PFL has done a pretty good job too. But
hey, don't sleep on Ryzen. Ryzen is fun to watch. They have you have to do foot stomps. You can do all sorts of stuff. This is like old school Pride type MMA. So
next time
I like watching Ryzen. I hope that sticks around.
Next time there's a big Ryzen event, you should let us know and we'll talk about it on the show. Educates Eric and I.
Try to find some room, sure.
All righty, sounds good. Okay, well, thank you for that, Eric, and Scott as well for clarifying some things about this TV deal. Something that was big news earlier this week was Saturday night of last weekend. Macy Barber and Erin Blanchfield did not end up happening. Macy Barber has to pull out literally minutes before she was scheduled to step into that octagon. She had some medical issues, reportedly had some seizures, and of course the fight could not happen. There was a lot of talk before the fight from Erin about whether or not Barber would make it into the arena, so kind of foreshadowing, I guess you could say. But going forward for Macy Barber, how difficult do you think that it is going to be for her with all this happening, leading up to the fight and then the fallout of it? Scott, I'll start with you. What do you make of this whole situation?
Man, I was talking to a manager this week about this situation, and frankly, they believe the UFC can still line Barber up with high level flyweights, but they also noted that they would not let their client of their own fight Macy here. So it's kind of like if anyone agrees with this particular manager and they're managing other high level flyweights, maybe it really doesn't happen. I don't know, and frankly, I can't blame the idea of any manager or any coach saying, no, we can't trust that Macy Barber is going to show up, whether it's medical or not, which everyone is saying it's medical. She's been in the hospital, they've been doing tests. She's not saying anything about what it actually is. They either don't know or she's not saying. Until we have clarity, frankly, it's just hard to rely upon her. What fighter is going to want to sign up, do a whole camp, go through a weight cut, go through fight day, get ready to go out, be ready to go out, and then find out you're not fighting? Who's going to want to do that? I don't know.
Yeah. Eric, how about you? What do you think about this situation for Macy Barber?
I mean, obviously, her health concerns put aside, right? Obviously, we're hoping that she is making a full recovery, and so is the UFC. It's interesting because this story is actually bigger than the fight actually happening. So, in a weird way, Barber becomes a bigger star having pulled out. I think that this could help her get fights. As crazy as that sounds, I think that she I'm sure the UFC is probably not, thrilled about this whole situation. Not to say that's her fault, but I think that by the end of this, I think, she gets talked about more, and she if she's willing to fight, able to make the weight, or says that she can make the weight ahead of time, I think that she'll get fights. I don't see an issue here.
Eric.
I have a hard disagree with that one. I don't think this helps her in any way. I think this creates an Aspen Ladd situation where we just know her for negativity. And frankly, who's fighting Aspen Ladd at 135 pounds anymore? I mean, she left that division, thankfully, for her own health. And again, I do echo the fact that we all want the best for Macy Barber's health and that kind
100%.
of thing.
Yeah.
But the fact is, I don't see how this helps her. It might make her more famous, but it's
Yeah.
really infamous, and I don't think it's going to help.
The way I look at it is there's no such thing as bad publicity. And you know what? As long as this doesn't matter for her, as long as this isn't like a big, like, I mean, with the way that Laura Sanko said this is a big health concern for her. So I mean, that's not good. But overall, she could end up coming out on top especially if there's a redemption arc here. People love redemption arcs, you know?
I'll tell you what's bad for a fighter's career and their prospects and their fame is not being able to fight at all. So,
Well,
like, frankly,
yeah,
if we
she's
do
able to
find
fight.
that manifest, like, yeah, she might be more famous, but also Ronda Rousey's still pretty famous, and she stopped fighting a long time ago.
Well, that's not what I'm saying. If she's able to,
I know I'm drawing. That's a pretty big reach. I'll
Yeah.
give you that one. But the point being here, I don't necessarily know that fame is going to lead to getting people to sign on the dotted line if they don't think you can actually fight there and get the rub off of fighting you.
all it takes is one time you stepping in there, and I feel like it could go up from there.
And
Fair enough.
yeah, I will also re-echo. We are hoping that she is able to step in there again and that she makes a full recovery. Some of the stuff, surrounding it, definitely not deserved. You can't control having a seizure, so that's ridiculous. The weight miss I can understand, but those things, after seeing what happened Saturday night.
When you say the weight miss, you can understand. You mean you can understand people being a little like unhappy with
the way. Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, if she was having seizures Saturday night, what else was going on?
She goes up to 135.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, so we'll see. We do have a tiny bit more time, so I do want to ask one more question about this one because the other side of this is Erin Blanchfield. Something that I'd proposed a few episodes back was this sort of flyweight tournament that actually, Scott, I think you were the one that coined the tournament term there, but the winner of this would possibly go on to face Natalia Silva, since there is kind of a lot going on at the top of that flyweight division with Zhang Wei Li seemingly being the super fight for that division. How do you feel about Erin Blanchfield going forward and fighting Natalia Silva, Scott?
I like it. I think it's a very fair top contender fight. And honestly, with the whole mess that we have here, it makes it easier to just say, yeah, let's just have Erin Blanchfield get back in there whenever is convenient for both her and Natalia Silva. Get them in there, determine who is the very clear number one contender to fight the winner of a hopeful super fight between Valentina Shevchenko and Zhang Wei Li. I think that's what we really ought to do. I don't see any reason to stray from that.
How do you feel about that one, Eric? Good?
Yeah, I feel good about it. I really was just hoping Blanchfield would fight so that we could kind of line her up for a title shot. But since this didn't happen, yeah, like you said, line her up for her next fight and then just run it back. It was a bummer for that night. I was definitely looking forward to watching that fight. I'm sure I'm not alone in that. Every UFC fan was probably like, "What is going on?" And I'm sure initially it was like, is Macy Barber just backing out? Is she getting stage fright? It was just so close that it was hard to argue anything else. Obviously, we learned it's different now. For Blanchfield, it's tough luck. But it sounded like she got her show money and 20% of Barber's purse or whatever it was. So, good. Blanchfield should be fine, and I'm looking forward to seeing her next time out.
Yeah. So one thing that I did want to ask you, Scott, because that main event did fall out on the books, that's got to change the event rating. What happened to this fight night in the Apex?
Oof.
So originally the fight rating or the event rating that we had last week identified was at 26, I believe. I don't think it was a 20. I think it was a 26. This was off my top of my head. Apologies, but
that sounds right. Which is good. Which is solid.
That's not bad for a
losing
fight
the
night.
main event, losing Gustafsson's fight as well. I mean that was lost on the day of weigh-in. So 2 fights down from the last time we talked about this event. This is now the lowest rated event of the UFC calendar year. It is a 2.
Yeah, that'll do it.
This is not the UFC's fault.
And
No.
Mateus Gamrot
let's
is
absolve the
carrying
UFC
that
of this
rating.
one. They put out a reasonably solid for me. A lot of
They
people were denigrating this event. I disagreed. I thought this was a perfectly fine card for the Apex, right? We're expecting a certain thing from there. I think it's fine. It ended up not being fine, but that is out of their control.
Mateus Gamrot has got to be carrying that too on his back.
Literally.
Like, if he's not there,
It's probably a regional card. LFA might have
Gosh,
some
if
higher
that fell
ones.
out. Well, the main event would have ended up being Ramiz Barimai against Billy Ray Goff. And that was the lowest rated fight on this card.
Wow.
It already dragged
That's
it down
crazy.
because it moved up to technical co-main status. If it had moved up another fight after that, I don't know what that would have been. It wouldn't have been good.
Yeah.
That's so
This kind of plays into our conversation we had last week about the UFC. What we would like to see for the quality of UFC cards.
Less is more.
Yes, less is more. Less is more. So if you want to see more about that, watch.
There was
last
some
week's
disagreement
episode.
of that in the comments. Some people were talking about they want
Yeah,
52
we were
cards.
getting some good traction in the
52 cards
comments.
a year. It was like, oh man.
To each their own.
Yeah.
To them, I would say, go check out Rising. Go check out PFL. Go check out these other places. You can find good fights to watch. They don't even have to have the high level talent that we're looking for in the UFC. Because frankly, we don't always get that in the UFC. So just go watch some other fights. You can get fights anywhere, anytime.
That's a good point.
Yes, we can. Sort of speaking about that. So talking about watching other fights in the past, I know you guys were all looking forward to hearing us talk about the homework for this week. It's been a pretty busy week for all of us considering this is a local card, so we were not able to get to it, but we will be getting to it next week. If you did watch the fight, let us know in the comments below how you liked it, and maybe we'll give you a shout out on next week's episode.
You guys get an extra week too. So if you really are, if you're itching to watch with us, make sure you go check out UFC 104's main event, Lyoto Machida against Mauricio Shogun, who are the first time they fought. I hold up two fingers and I say the first time. So the first time they fought. There we go.
Yes, there we go. And by the way, full disclosure, guys, I made it through UFC 1.
Oh
Yeah.
What did you think? What did you think?
It was great. I mean, one thing that you could totally tell, and like I've heard this about the card, right, is that it was in some sense, I mean, it really totally was like objectively a ad for jiu-jitsu, like Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm sure viewers in 1993 watching that live did not know that and maybe didn't consciously pick up on that. But for me, knowing that, retrospectively, I'm like, oh, it's crazy. All the announcers are like talking about the ground game being like, oh, he's going to take his back here. Anyone else watching that fight would not have known that. So that's something that I noticed a bunch. And not honestly, I liked it. I watched it kind of like a retro documentary. Like that's what it felt like to me as a fan. So I really loved it. I would watch it again. Like actually, I would. It was very entertaining.
Maybe another day I'm gonna identify another one of the UFC tournaments from the past to watch. They're not all really worth revisiting, frankly, for our purposes. But there are a couple out there. We'll save them for another day.
And one thing about the UFC one is like the production quality is so interesting too. Is like one of the announcers, I forget who, he was basically playing like the role of like a Goldberg or John Anik. And he was like, talking about like the ring, like he was like, as if there were, and he was like, well, when they jump in through the ropes, and it was like, you're looking at a cage, like, like you're looking at it. It's not like you haven't seen what it looks like. So that was interesting. Jim Brown's appearance there is very fascinating.
Fellow Syracuse alumni.
Oh, there you go.
I love and one of the literal greatest athletes of all time in several sports. He's one of the greatest lacrosse players. He's one of the greatest football players. And he's out there talking about combat sports too. Awesome. Look at this. What can he do?
I want to know what.
Now he's no longer with us, of course. But.
I want to know what the cost was of him. Like, was he the most expensive part of that entire show? He probably was. He was a huge star then. So I don't know if he had percentage points in the UFC to do it, or like if they just paid him a massive salary.
Lower at this point in his career. I mean, it'd been decades since he had played football.
Right. It was just the only person that you would know of that entire thing.
I found that very interesting.
I don't know how much it cost for the whole event. If it cost like $500K to put that event on, he might have cost $100.
Bizarre for sure. It was a strange pick, but very welcome pick.
Oh yeah,
sure.
he was great. I thought he was fantastic.
I thought he added to the experience. Frankly, I really did. He wasn't. It wasn't like sometimes we get guest commentators on in other promotions especially, and frankly they add nothing to the mix. And I thought Jim Brown actually did.
Yeah.
PFL had GSP on one time, and that was awesome. Just gonna.
What does he know?
Shout out.
You know about fighting.
Yeah, literally.
I'm really hoping that for this triathlon in Quebec, that GSP is somehow like manifesting that he's gonna like be the guy blowing the gun.
When you say this triathlon, no one knows what you're talking about, my friend.
Oh, fair
I didn't know
enough.
that you were training for one.
I am training for a triathlon.
That's new to me.
Yes, yeah. It's
That's
in
awesome.
June 22nd. Shout out.
Oh man, that's coming up, dog.
Fans, if we have any fans,
go
in
find Jake
Quebec,
Nicholson, guys.
Yeah, seriously.
Please don't Tanya Harding me.
But hey, look, don't forget, as much as he caught on to the advertisement for jiu-jitsu, he does jiu-jitsu.
Oh
Right.
yes.
Yeah, Tom Hardy will come right at you.
Yeah, oh boy. There we go.
Yep.
Alrighty, guys. I think we're all set. Guys, we're
Wanna do
really
this
looking
week in
forward to
MMA?
yeah.
What about this week in MMA, my
Oh,
friend?
sorry. Continue.
Yeah, well, this week in MMA,
Yes.
we gotta get this out before we get going here. Go back 6 years, June 8th, 2019, UFC 238 flyweight champion Henry Cejudo wins the vacant bantamweight title, beating Marlon Moraes to become the 4th fighter ever to hold 2 UFC titles simultaneously. You know who's one of those other 3?
Who?
Amanda Nunes.
Hey.
Conor McGregor. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, that too, but that doesn't tie in.
Yeah. That doesn't tie in. You're right.
I love it.
Still the goat though.
Alrighty.
Oh, just kidding. We
Oh my
goat
god.
conversation another time. Thanks for stopping by, everybody.
That's crazy. We could do a whole episode on that one. I could see Scott and Eric getting into it. Alrighty, I think that is it for me, guys. I will see you guys on Saturday night for
Yeah,
UFC
we'll be
316.
there.
Eric is going to be at the press conference later tonight.
Yep.
So tune in if you guys
Catch
want
me
to see
there.
some of that. Yeah. Alrighty, guys. I'll see you on
Yeah.
Saturday night.
Follow
Have
us
a
all
good
on
weekend.
social media. We'll be posting pictures and videos, and yeah, let's go UFC 316. We're all going to be there.
Alrighty.
get
Go
it.
New Jersey.
Yes, sir.